How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the First Descendant, and it seems the developers have come out and have completely shocked the community, the gaming world, as more and more companies like Helldivers 2, like Destiny, move to nerf everything, nerf the single attires in favor of actually buffing everything else up or finding another solution. Basically, the better option, which is more community friendly, especially those that invested time in building that build because it looks great, it feels great, gives you that power fantasy, and it just makes you happy as you go and trounce enemies. Well, the First Descendant developers have decided, we're going to do something completely opposite. And even Paul Tassi here, as you can see, who are these devs? Now, obviously, there is a bit of translation in here because it's going from Korean to English, so it is being translated. But the gist of it, the notion of it, the actual essence of the message that's coming through is crystal clear. And despite those in the comment section trying to turn around and say that this is AI generated, no one actually says this and blah blah blah, it's clear that they're pretty salty, especially most of them being Destiny fans, and looking at what Bungie is doing for them, where every time they get a really cool build, Bungie comes along and goes, "Shut up, buddy, it's nerfed." And Helldivers 2 getting all sorts of weapons and then getting them nerfed. Basically, it's nerf. But the developers here have turned around and said that is not the approach we want, because we value the time that you invest in these games, we value the time that you invest in our world, and we want you to be happy in our world. Because hey, guess what? The longer you're in our world, the more chance you have of spending money. And if you're not spending money, well, at least you're keeping the world populated for those that do spend money. So even if you are free to play 100% fully and you don't intend to spend a single penny on the game, you are valuable because you are still a resource that provides experience for other members of the community who are paying that can actually enjoy it. So this is actually a really refreshing way of looking at things, and I'm really happy to see that we actually have developers out there. How long this notion will continue, of course, is unknown, but it's really cool to see that people are taking on this approach, taking on this mindset, and saying to themselves, hey, do you know what? There is a better way. It's gonna cost a lot more money, but there is a better way. And yes, it's going to cost us a lot more money, but in the end, if the community feels like they are being respected, treated fairly, and can see that we are putting the effort in to make their experience as good as possible, maybe in turn, they will do the same for us and keep the game alive. And guess what? The response has been pretty damn awesome. But you know what? The First Descendant, here we go. This is the message that they put out to maintain our game and to be adored by our players for a long time. Pretty much what I was saying, right? We believe that it is wrong to just look on and leave unbalanced content, which is providing biased rewards. I mean, that's fair. Especially in the drop rate department, some of them feel a little harsh. However, as Valby Run became popular very quickly within our community, we assume many players have researched Valby to enjoy the newly discovered content. The current issue has occurred clearly by our own mistake, but we do not wish to suddenly remove it because it has already become a solid content of the First Descendant. So they, if this is like Bungie or someone, they would have just disabled the content, removed the content until they fixed it, nerfed it in a way where it basically became trash again. But that's not what the developers for the First Descendant are doing. As we continue our live service for the First Descendant, we have no plans to respond by simply nerfing certain content. They're not, I mean, let's be realistic, some things may get released and not everything can be 100% tested at a scale like this. So mistakes can happen. And in that situation, maybe we might see a nerf here and there over time. But something like this, which is systematic to investment, they're saying we're not going to nerf. For any gameplay which collides with our intentions, we respect every content created by our players, and we'll do our best to create a game that all players can enjoy together for a long time, be it free to play or those that are investing money to fast track their experience. We appreciate your endless feedback and interest to our game and will endeavor to provide a better gaming environment that will fulfill your expectations. Thank you. Now, this is actually insane, right? Because this is the type of response you want from developers. This is the type of response that you want to see, where if the developers make a mistake, the community isn't penalized for it. If there is a way to combat this broken build or broken something that the developers simply didn't foresee, there's a way around it by buffing others up to make them viable, so not everyone is running around as Valby or doing a single piece of content in order to keep the game going. That's great, and I really like this approach, and I wish more developers would go down this route instead of just simply nerfing everything to the ground and saying, hey, we fixed it. And that seems to be the common approach for a lot of these live service games. If there's a problem, we won't we won't buff everything up. And believe me, I was having this discussion with a friend of mine. It's not that easy just to buff everything, because not only will you then have to buff everything to that level, they need to be then retested around builds that are commonly used, and then that has to be balanced against the bosses, and that's a monumentous effort. But if the developers are willing to undertake that for the betterment of the game, hopefully the community in turn will respond in a positive way to actually go and say, hey, look, they are listening. And even though this build was broken, their first reaction wasn't just to nerf it or remove it or do what Bungie does. Their first reaction is, hey, it's our fault. It's a really solid piece of content now for the First Descendant. We're not going to remove it. We're not going to nerf it, but we are going to balance other stuff to bring it alongside it. And maybe what you'll see is a little bit more HP scaling or something dependent, or, mechanic change or something, basically something to make it balanced. But for now, they are not touching your character, and the way it works will continue to be relevant for forever future. Will it be as powerful in 2 months' time? Who knows? Maybe they'll scale boss. It really depends on the nature of what's going on. I'm not just talking about Valby's situation here now. I'm talking about everything. So there are other ways that they can do this, but still by not removing that power fantasy or removing the player enjoyment or the amount of time you invested as a player in getting that build right. I don't know. This all sounds really, really good to me. It sounds really great. And though, people are definitely read like an AI made it, nonsensical stuff. And, they're Korean and some of the phrasing is likely from translation. Also, AI doesn't even sound like this. It's a game worth grinding for. I mean, the early part of the game, I will tell you, is really bad. It's really boring. But after you get past the early point, if you push forward, there is a really good game behind it. You just need to get past the early segments of the game in order to be able to get there. Trust me, once you get to the final 3 areas, it becomes really interesting. And obviously then opens up the grind, which you're not really locked out from anything. You can grind to your heart's content. There's no weekly lockout from what I understand. It's great. For someone who's into looter shooters, it's great. And like my friend has, I think that he's missing 4 Descendants now out of all of them just by grinding. Didn't pay a single penny. So it just shows you, if you want the stuff, you can get it. But anyway, obviously there's a bit of luck involved as well. But that's my thoughts on this. I think this is absolutely fantastic. This is really good. And I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. This is available on Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, as you're aware. Don't know if it's available on the Switch. I don't think it is, but I'm pretty sure once the Switch 2 comes along, it will be. But this is a solid response that I personally wasn't expecting from a dev, especially knowing what it actually entails to do what they're saying. It's a mammoth of an effort, but the fact that they are wanting to do that and that they are going down that path, at least for now, speaks volumes on their intention, not only to serve and please the consumer, which is the first and foremost, because a happy customer keeps coming back, but also to respect your time as a person while you're playing the game. You can't really ask for more. That's my thoughts on this. You let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know if you are playing the First Descendant, who your favorite character is, because I'd love to know. See you next time. Remain legend.